once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them.
He is saying, I will purge the security forces of the United States of those who are not loyal to me and my authoritarian aspirations. He's saying it plain as day. He's promising it. The question in front of American voters is, do you want to give Trump the chance to purge the military so he can finish the job he started on January 6th? General Barry McCaffrey is a retired four-star U.S. Army general. He's a recipient of 3 Purple Hearts. Paul Rieckhoff is a former U.S. Army infantry officer, host of the Independent Americans podcast, and they both join me now. General, let me just start with you and your reaction to just what we've seen in the last, 4 or 5 days. You've got the Tuberville blockade. You've got the vote against the Joint Chiefs of Staff because he wants to mix. He talks about race, and he wants to mix it in the military. You've got 2 people, Donald Trump, Paul Gosar, calling for the execution of Milley. You've got votes today successful in the House. This isn't just one person saying it. 2 votes today, 1 vote that was successfully take the salary of Austin down to $1. What do you make of all this?
Well, first of all, I strongly endorse your opening comments. I think that was very sound, very objective. This is worth being extremely concerned about. During the follow-on to Trump's lost election, he actually made moves, which I said at the time, to run a coup against the government of the United States. There's no question in my mind. He put a retired lieutenant colonel in SecDef, sent a gang of people over there with him. Mark Milley and the senior officers of the armed forces did swear an oath to the Constitution, and they wouldn't go along with it. So I think what we are seeing is a parallel to the 1930s in Nazi Germany. I don't say that's a Republican Party. That's 15 to 25 House members, a couple of senators, and all those who are Trump MAGA loyalists. This is a cult. It's a lawless cult, and it's a major threat to the armed forces of the United States and our security. It's shameful to talk about General Mark Milley. By the way, he's not going to be intimidated. You know, he's a Princeton hockey player. He's a tough guy. He has years in combat. His mom and dad fought in World War II. But it's a shameful act on the part of those who are speaking in a manner to support authoritarian government. This is outrageous.
You know, one thing that's so striking when you see Milley is, I think if I sat down with, the top brass of the U.S. military and we just, talked politics, there'd be a lot, I think, that we don't see eye to eye on. People have different views. I'm coming from a different place. But I think one of the things that Milley expresses, and I think the thing you really see is Milley reiterating that there is a bedrock, ironclad consensus, loyalty, and fidelity to the U.S. Constitution. And ultimately, that is incommensurable with loyalty to Trump.
Yeah, he's drawing a line.
Yeah,
and he's saying, I stand on this side, and you stand on that side. And Milley retires on October 1st, and I hope he lets the fists fly. We need to hear from everything he knows, and I think it's his patriotic duty. I think it's critical to our national security, because what this is all about is about what I've called the American insurgency. It is a political and social movement focused on violently overthrowing our government. And it has lead elements, including Trump, including folks like the former National Security Advisor, Mike Flynn, and the lead soldier in this in Congress is Tommy Tuberville, who is ridiculous, radical, reckless, and racist. And I've called him Senator Redneck because that's what he is. You want someone to lead this ridiculous, racist thing that undermines our national security? Tuberville's like, me, I'll be your guy. And he is now doing that. He's got 10 minions who followed him to vote against CQ Brown. And every day it's something new that undermines our national security. It hurts our troops. It hurts our morale. Our enemies are celebrating. Vladimir Putin loves this. But there's also the political side of this. This is driving the GOP further and further away from America, and especially from independents like me. I've called this the Confederate wing of the GOP. They don't want to preserve the military of 2023. They want to create the Confederate Army. They want to take us back to the 1800s. They don't understand this modern world, and they're fighting it. And we've got to fight back.
Yeah, I mean, to follow on that, and I'll come back to you in a second, General, just the idea that, you and I are around the same age, right? And obviously you served during that part of that period, that intensely fraught period, right, post 9/11. Yeah. The idea that the military is woke, like the idea that and what they mean by woke is faithful to a creedal vision of the nation as bound together across difference in support of the Constitution, that to them is woke.
But what they also mean is diverse. And what they also mean is not like them.
Yes.
I'm glad you're naming it, because there are serious racial components to every element of this, right? They continue to oppose some of the historically important, heroic leaders of our military who are also black. Time and time again, Tommy Tuberville is opposite significant black leaders, and he says, I'll be the guy. I'll be the one to take that politically unpopular position, because he wants to be this savior. He wants to be this person who will go up to Trump and say, I'm your guy, because it's a coordinated attack to undermine our national security and push their political agenda and anyone that stands in their way, even if it's the Pentagon.
General, let me ask you this, as someone who served at some of the highest levels in our nation and have been around politicians and leaders, civilian and military. Do you think there are conversations happening now about this peril that we face? I mean, it's not gone, obviously. And if you listen to Milley, like, he feels it. But do you think this is a known thing among everyone at the top upper echelons of the U.S. Armed Forces who have taken that oath?
Well, I certainly wouldn't, speak for the active military leadership of the country. And by the way, one other thing that needs to be said on your program tonight is the Armed Forces of the United States today are the toughest, best equipped, most committed fighting force in the country's history. They took 60,000 killed and wounded during this war on terror. We watch them go through the National Training Center. They are lethal. They are prepared. I sat next to, at a Bob Woodward lecture, a grandmother whose dear granddaughter just graduated from West Point, chose infantry as the branch, and is now serving in an infantry battalion of the active Army. I mean, so we should have no doubt about the willingness and the preparation of the armed forces. That woke stuff is utter flippin' nonsense. I think what we've got is, I think Paul's put this perfectly, there are elements of this 15 to 25 congressmen who are racist, who are ignorant, who are opportunists. I wouldn't want to characterize the conservative movement that way, but this is a MAGA minority.
General Barry McCaffrey and Paul Rieckhoff, great to have you both, gentlemen. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.